Are you sick of the city? Want to find a rural town, get a mortgage on some country real estate, and live the good life? Who doesn't, right? Today we're looking at great rural towns in the Tar Heel State, North Carolina. North Carolina is a great southern state that has some great landscapes and amazing cities. Sadly, they don't have too many amazing rural towns. Poverty and crime are always on the menu in North Carolina's small towns. North Carolina, and really the entire South, have some tragically run-down towns that have epidemic level poverty that's been going on for decades. But we were still able to find 6 great rural towns. In this series, what we're looking for is the sweet spot, a decent place to live that isn't too close to a major city, it's easy on the crime rate, it's not 5 hours away from a hospital, and so far out in the sticks, you can't get decent internet. All right, let's take a look. Number 6, Brevard, North Carolina. Brevard, North Carolina is a mountain town about 45 minutes south of Asheville, North Carolina, not too far from the South Carolina border. This one has a little bit larger of a population than I like to have on these rural towns, but there's a reason for that. It's kind of a big downtown area. In the outskirts, there's a lot of rural property. So they got a nice downtown with a lot of things. You just got to get your houses on the outside, and it's rural. They have a population of 7,700 residents, and they get a thumbs up for their crime rate. Their crime rate's actually 24% lower than the national average. Where this place stands out is their downtown. If you go downtown, it's a very unique downtown, and you'll see things about white squirrels everywhere. There's like white squirrel restaurants or whatever, and then you'll see pictures everywhere of white squirrels, and that's because they have these white squirrels that actually live in town. They're very unique. From a distance, they kind of look like little miniature polar bears or albino squirrels. They're very unique to this area. Now, the reason for these, at least the story is, that back in like the 30s, a circus train was coming through town and overturned. Well, on board the overturned train, they had these squirrels, they got loose, and now they've been calling Brevard their home ever since. Brevard also gets a big thumbs up for their internet. They're doing outstanding. First of all, they have Google Fiber, which is excellent internet. Sadly, only about 5% of the town can get it. But they have an internet company called Comporium, which gives 1 gig to 95% of the town. So that's outstanding. When you're looking at healthcare, they get another big thumbs up. They have a really good sized place called the Transylvania Regional Hospital, along with a few other doctors' offices and some family practices. Transylvania Regional Hospital is going to cover pretty much everything you need. They got an emergency room and all that other stuff. Anything beyond that, you head on up to Asheville, 45 minutes north. When it comes to real estate, they get a thumbs up also because they have a lot of different choices. Your choices start off around $250,000 and work their way up. They've got probably 10 places for sale right now that range anywhere from $250,000, and there's a couple that are up in the $500,000 area. Outside of town, they always seem to come with like a creek and a couple acres. So that's a definite plus. If you're into fishing and outdoor stuff, especially hiking in the mountains and mountain biking, this is a great place to live. Number 5, Clyde, North Carolina. Clyde, North Carolina is another western North Carolina mountain town about 30 minutes west of Asheville. It's just up the road from the last one, Brevard, North Carolina. Clyde sits on the Pigeon River, which if you like fishing, you're right, the Great Smoky Mountains are right out your back door. There is plenty to do outdoors here. Hike, mountain bike, camp, fish, hunt, if that's what you're into. And the people here, they enjoy that stuff. They got about 1,200 residents living here, and they get a big thumbs up for their crime rate. Their crime rate is 51% lower than the national average, which is outstanding, especially when you see some of the other small towns or rural towns in North Carolina. They can get pretty scary. This is definitely a good place to live. Good news, they get a thumbs up here for their internet. They have Spectrum, which offers 1 gig to about 75% of the town, and you have the usual ones that offer you nothing worth having. And this place also has Carolina Mountain Cablevision, which offers 200 Mbps to about 20% of the town. That's also cable. When it comes to healthcare, Clyde gets a big thumbs up. That's a thing here in North Carolina. For some reason, they always get the highest ratings for healthcare. Access to healthcare is usually one of the biggest things that drags a place down. North Carolina has plenty of medical clinics, hospitals, doctors everywhere for some reason. Clyde's no exception. Clyde being situated between Waynesville and Asheville, you'd think that they wouldn't have their own good-sized hospital. People just go down the road to one of those. But no, they do. It's called Haywood Regional Medical Center, emergency room, all that good stuff. On top of that, they have some doctors and clinics and things like that. Real estate, they get another thumbs up. You got a lot of options here, and those options start off around $185,000 and go up to about $650,000. If you're looking for something decent, though, you're probably looking right around $300,000 to $400,000. We'll get you something really nice, probably has an acre, and I'm sure it's going to have a creek nearby. Number 4, Seven Devils, North Carolina. You heard me right, it's called Seven Devils. To people that live in this area, what's wrong with that name? To everyone else in the country, that sounds a little weird, but this is a great place to live, and it doesn't have a big population. They only have a population of 280 residents. That's a small town. Now, the interesting thing about this place, it's not a normal town. It really started off as a resort community. Let me explain. In the mid-1960s, 7 men from Winston-Salem established this unincorporated community, which is called Seven Devils, with the vision of creating a recreational resort. So it's big in skiing, mountain biking, and stuff like that for the longest time. Then it became known as like one of the largest winter tubing place, like snow tubing. It's apparently amazing. It was started off as a resort area and eventually became incorporated into a town in 1979. Now, there are people that live there. There's 62 households and about 40 families. That's according to the 2010 census. Now, in 2019, they estimate that's about 220 people live there full time, with another 60 or so that come in for seasonal stuff, or half the year. There's retirees and stuff that live here, and it's not just Seven Devils. Their surrounding area is part of the same community, and they get a big thumbs up for their crime rate. It's actually 54% lower than the national average. I put this on here because it's like, it's weird. It's not really a traditional town, but it is at the same time. But there's some really cool things here. First of all the skiing, all the hiking, all the tubing, all the winter stuff is going on here, mountain biking, and then you have a bunch of golf courses. In the immediate area, there's like 7 different golf courses. And Seven Devils isn't the only one on this list that has that problem. Too many golf courses? I mean, if you're a golfer, that's never a problem. But yeah, that's a thing in North Carolina. When it comes to internet, they're doing outstanding. They got a company called SkyBest. They offer 1 gig fiber internet to 100% of the town, which is outstanding. Then you also have Spectrum, which offers it to 98% of the town. You also get a gig there too. So they get a big thumbs up for their internet. The only knock that Seven Devils gets is their healthcare. They don't have anything in town. If you do need anything, you're going to have about a 25-minute drive to Boone, which is just northeast of Seven Devils. Which in Boone, they got a couple medical clinics, a full-blown hospital, and a whole bunch of doctor's offices, and a cancer clinic, all the things you're going to need. They also get a faded thumbs up for their real estate. They don't have a lot to offer, and actually they don't have anything in Seven Devils, but in the surrounding area, which is kind of the focus of this, it starts off around $300,000 and goes way up. But if you're looking at $300,000 to $450,000, you'll probably find something nice and livable within a few miles of Seven Devils, and you're going to be up in the hills with some wooded areas and things like that. So yeah, faded thumbs up just because they don't have a big selection and really nothing in town. But if you like to be out doing things, this is an outstanding place to live. If you're an active senior or you're a digital nomad that owns a mountain bike, this is where you want to live. Number 3, Burnsville, North Carolina. Burnsville sits about 40 miles north of Asheville on some of the most beautiful land this state has to offer. It's not too far from Green Mountain and the Green Mountain Overlook. This is a famous selfie spot. It's a great place to do your Instagram. You could find a lot of rundown villages and towns all in the Appalachian Mountains. Burnsville ain't one of them. They have a population of about 1,674 residents, and they get a thumbs up for their crime rate. It's actually 64% lower than the national average, which in the past hasn't been that low. I mean, when the country was really dealing with the opioid crisis, this area was kind of hit pretty bad. But Burnsville seems to be doing pretty good. When it comes to internet, they get another thumbs up. They have Country Cablevision, which offers 400 Mbps to 25% of the town, 200 Mbps to 98% of the town. They also have Spectrum, which offers 1 gig, and they cover about 99% of the town with that. So, like I said, thumbs up. They got choices and they got good speed. When it comes to healthcare, they get a thumbs up for that too. You got Blue Ridge Medical Center, which is in town. They also have Mercy Urgent Care, which is good to have an urgent care in a town. Anything major, you're going to have to head down to Asheville. They have a place I need to eat at someday just because of the name. It's Bubba's Good Eats. You know what else kind of makes this town cool? They got a roller skating rink. You don't see those anymore, but they got one in town. This is another great place for outdoor activities, hiking, whatever you want to do. They got rivers, creeks, everything. Matter of fact, the Cane River flows right by town. It's a good place to be outdoors. They also get a thumbs up for their real estate. Now, we're not just talking Burnsville here. The whole area around here, they got a lot to offer, and it usually comes with some acres. And it starts off at like 220,000 and goes all the way up into the 700,000 and 800,000s. Almost everything you see that's not like in town, Burnsville, is going to have at least an acre on it. So that's a plus. And almost everything I've looked at has great scenery. I mean, everything not in town. Number 2, Bennett, North Carolina. Moving to the other side of the state, we got the small town of Bennett. Bennett only has 268 residents. It's also not too far away from a place called Devil's Tramping Grounds. This is a weird little patch of land in some forest that's supposed to be like haunted, and all kinds of weird stuff goes on here. But one thing that they know for sure, nothing grows in this area, and they can't figure out why. This is definitely a small town. It's got a fire station, a hardware store, a grill, a post office, a small grocery store, a food mart, and they host the Flatwoods Festival every year along with a Christmas parade. Good old-fashioned small-town America. Bennett sits about an hour west of Raleigh, North Carolina, and they get a big thumbs up for their crime rate. It's actually 74% lower than the national average, which is good. Like I've said before, when you have such a small population, they have a couple bar fights in a month, that's going to raise their crime rate through the roof. But this one's 74% lower. When it comes to internet, they only get a faded thumbs up because they only have CenturyLink. Now, they say they offer 940 Mbps to about 85% of the town. My experience with CenturyLink, they rarely get up to the speed that they're advertising. So like I said, faded thumbs up for their internet. They also get a faded thumbs up for their healthcare because they got nothing in town. They'd probably get worse, but they're near some of the best healthcare in the country out there in Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill, all that area. But if you do need like a hospital or an emergency room or anything like that, you got Asheboro, a little less than 30 minutes to the northwest. And they got everything you need, from emergency room, hospital, to family practices, to foot and ankle specialist, all kinds of good stuff up there. When it comes to real estate, they get a thumbs up because it is pretty cheap here. Now, it does get up into the 600,000s, but it's not hard to find someplace that's under 200,000 in the Bennett area. Now, nothing's for sale right now. Outside of town, they got a couple things. They're all under 200,000. And I was looking in just last April and in March, there was like 4 different homes that sold for under 220,000, and they all came with like a half an acre at least. This place doesn't have a terrible amount of things to do. It's not out there in the mountains like around Asheville and stuff, but it's really inexpensive. It's quiet, and they're good people, and this is a good place to live. All right, before we get to number 1, don't forget we have another channel called On This Day. We are trying to get that thing to grow. Please go over there, watch some videos, subscribe if you haven't. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, Davis, North Carolina. Have you ever heard of Davis, North Carolina? Most of you haven't, unless you at some point tried to catch a ferry out to Cape Lookout National Seashore. Davis sits on the east coast of North Carolina, about 2 hours up the coast from Wilmington, North Carolina, and not too far from Morehead City and Atlantic Beach, North Carolina. This is a great place to live if you want to live at the coast and, have a small town vibe. They don't have that many people living here. Back in 2010, they had 422 people living there. Right now, they have 378. And they get a big thumbs up for their crime rate. Their crime rate is 79% lower than the national average, which is outstanding. They also get a big thumbs up for real estate, even though they don't have a bunch for sale in town right now. Actually, just outside of town, they have one place for sale. But back in April and then earlier this month, they've sold like 4 different homes. They all go for under 400,000. Now, some of the homes that have sold in previous years or last year do get up in the 600,000 and 700,000 area, but most of this area is below 400,000, which this is a coastal town. That's unheard of in most places. This is one of those places I always say, keep an eye on it, because if you're thinking about it, something will pop up. You grab it, grab yourself a mortgage, and you own some North Carolina coastal real estate. When it comes to internet, they get a thumbs up. They don't get up to gig, but you get 300 Mbps from Spectrum here, and they say they cover about 97% of the town. CenturyLink only offers 6 Mbps, which sucks, and they also offer that to 97% of the town. This is probably a great place to look into Starlink. I mean, you don't have a bunch of mountains, anything like that to get in your way. This might be a great option. Davis gets a faded thumbs up when it comes to healthcare because they don't have anything in town. Anything you need done, I mean, from emergency room to urgent care to pediatrics, you're going to have about a 30-minute ride down to Morehead City. But if you're looking for a nice, quiet place to live on the coast, this is a great option. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Honestly, there's a lot of really nice small towns and rural towns in North Carolina. The biggest thing that knocked them off was the internet. Tons of places have like horrible internet. And if you're a remote worker or you just want to watch some Netflix, you can't do that in a lot of these towns. All right, everyone. Everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.